Again, we've gotten to see on the news how if you bully somebody to the point that they kill themselves, you can be charged. Will anybody charge the people who bullied me? No, it's somehow acceptable socially because I am an adult male. Somehow it's okay to victimize me because of that. Somehow it is okay to ignore me because of that. The screenshot that I used for this is one of the messages between Natalie and I. It was about my birthday in 2018. Sorry, 2016. That was while I was supposedly stalking her in Virginia. That's right. She's dead now. And it's all your fault. I do mean every single one of you. There's two ways to do this as a victim of bullying. Number one, when you're bullied to the point that you want your life to end, all right, there's two things you can do. One, you can try to turn in your predator. You'll probably get talked over. If you got to go in alone, you're screwed. If your parents go in with you, they take it seriously. If you go in alone, nobody cares. Nobody cares. You must be some homeless junkie, because obviously nobody cares about you enough to come forward or speak up or come in with you when it actually matters. There's a paperwork here that says what you're supposed to do, right? I mean, this paperwork here, I went to all those places already. They were a joke. Do you know why? Because this stuff right here. How can elder abuse be prevented? Now, this is the paperwork they gave me at the hospital. It's a little bit different, but of course, right here, this is the most important part. If you are a friend or family member or friend, I can't see it, it's too fuzzy, and it's backwards to me looking at it in the screen. But then it says all the things that literally I've been saying that I need. All these things that I've been deprived of. If you are a friend or family member, it says, how can elder abuse be prevented? If you are a family member or a friend, try to see the person regularly. Frequent visits will help you determine if the person shows signs of abuse or neglect. But you don't care, so you never even call. I have to beg you to call. I have to beg you to do something other than just throw pretty words at me and help my predators get away by wasting my time. It says, get to know the staff who are taking care of the person. I have to try to take care of myself, and I can't, obviously. It says, express any concerns you may have right away. Keep notes of the conversations. Did you do that? Did you do that? I recorded the actual conversations, and of course, I made posts on YouTube, Facebook, before Natalie was killed. Before Natalie was killed, I was on Facebook. I didn't have YouTube at that point that I could do that with. Just Facebook. But I had to document it there because I didn't have anyone to go in with me. No friend or family member would stop talking. No friend or family member would shut up long enough to find out what was going on. No friend or family member was going in with me to the visits, and for certainly never a follow-up. It says take pictures if there are signs of abuse or poor health standards. I had to do that myself the best I could, but of course, depending on where you're abused, it's just like being a battered woman or a battered child. They just keep you home until your bruises go away. Take away your phone, take away your keys. Then they run around town telling everybody that you're crazy, you're nuts, you had a mental breakdown and you don't want to go anywhere. You think they're schizophrenic. They're having delusions. And then when they get out, everybody treats them differently. You treat them like they're crazy because their predator says so. And then when they're paranoid, they're like, hey, why is everybody treating me differently? Oh, honey, we're not. We're still your friends. We still care about you. Six months down the road, he beats her to death. Where are you then? What do you do to a victim who tries to turn it in? You lock them up for having suicidal ideations. The victim has two choices. If they want their predator to stop, they have one option. The only way their predator is ever going to see consequences is if we end our lives over the bullying instead of trying to get help. If we try to get help because people are bullying us to the point that we want our lives to be over, we can't say anything or you will lock us up. Call us mentally ill. Say we have suicidal ideations. Do you ever try to ask why? Because we're being bullied. And you say just ignore them. I went for a third option. I stood my ground. I maintained myself as the voice of reason. This is complete insanity. If the victim comes forward, you victimize them further. You help their predators to get away. You cast doubt on the words coming out of their face. You lock them up until their bruises go away. You charge them with crimes that never happened. You run around telling everybody they're schizophrenic. The police protocol is exactly the same protocol as when your husband beats you up. They separate you and isolate you from your friends and family. And they choose poor people for a reason, especially homeless poor people, because who's going to bail them out? Who cares about them? You get to see that the abuse and the neglect isn't just from the Bollingers and their cronies, but also because of the media, because of the police, and because of my friends. The way that you were supposed to do it, why couldn't you try? You're supposed to turn it in immediately. You made excuses for how many years now? Always some excuse. You make empty promises. You tell me you love me, you tell me you care, but you literally went out of your way not to try any of these things. Friends and family is first, folks. The facts that stand out the most are that my friends and family were the ones who victimized me the most. And all of them took Natalie Bollinger's death as an excuse. Oh, we're not the bad guys. Sean Shorts asked for us to victimize him. He must be making it up. Did I make up what I said about little Jason Jepson? Heck, I even provided proof. His mother's testimony on my YouTube channel. Her name is Terry. There's also messages with Kimberly Jepson about her twin brother trying to chop her feet off with a garden hoe. Kim Jepson was the first friend I ever knew I'd get to keep. She was the first friend I made in Chapel, Nebraska. She threw me away last year. She's also a registered nurse and a mandated reporter in Nebraska. So is her mother. Her mother was aware of quite a bit. But rather than doing her job as a mandated reporter, well, this is the story of my life, isn't it? When your predators are law enforcement, they can lock you up. All they got to do is threaten, harass, and intimidate you so you're too afraid to even go in and turn them in. And then they help your predators to get paperwork immediately. All the things they told you they couldn't do, they do for your predators. The fact that I can prove that I've been trying to turn in Scott DeCosta since 2018. And Nebraska State Patrol repeatedly played stupid and outright lied to me, including their dispatch, Investigator Woods, Sergeant Jones. Between their testimony and the testimony of State Trooper Bill Burr, it shows that they're all lying. The things that Bill Burr said about the situation don't line up. They don't line up with what Investigator Woods said. And it doesn't line up with what Gina Jones said. The fact that I have all three of them recorded, as well as having emails between them and I about the situations. They shouldn't have committed felonies to assist Scott DeCosta in getting away with committing felonies. That was stupid of them. But this is what it's really like. This is what it is really like. Who is it that pushed me the most to end my life? How can elder abuse be prevented? This is nearly the same guidelines as those for an at-risk adult. They gave me the wrong paperwork at the hospital. Can you imagine that? But I want you to look at this. If you are a friend, or if you are a family member or a friend, instead of telling me you believe me, I want you to look these things up. I have been trying to follow the protocols, but it's friends and family members and mandated reporters literally doing everything they can not to follow these standards, not to follow these professional guidelines. There are hundreds of people involved who didn't do their jobs nationwide. What's worse, they're recorded doing it. I don't understand how it can be all over my YouTube channel and all over my Facebook, and people are still doing these things to me to this day, forcing me into these situations and telling me I chose it. I didn't choose not to have friends or family. I didn't choose for them all to be pretty words. I didn't choose for the only people to ever accept me into their society to be primarily drug dealers, drug addicts, and severely mentally screwed up people. Many of them very selfish. I want to tell you something about every single one of my friends. Every single one of them. In the last 6 years, every single one of them showed me that they're not a friend. Let me tell you something about every single one of my family members. In the last 6 years, every single one of my family members showed me that they're not family. I've never been family and I'll never be family. But you know what the great and wonderful thing for me is? I walked into all of this knowing that. Knowing that my friends were just going to be pretty words. Between, let's see, if you are a family member or a friend, this is how you're supposed to prevent it from happening to begin with. This is how you prevent the victim from being locked up and injected with drugs and called mentally ill for trying to turn in their bullies. If you're not doing any of these things and you're taking your dear sweet time, these are all things. It says not to take your dear sweet time in this. Oh, says the people you're supposed to go to with that person. Now, there are people who went to appointments with me, a couple of them. There was. Amanda got to go to several appointments with me at the hospital in Bozeman. The issue up there wasn't with Amanda, it was with her mom. Family dynamics, though, right? It says, get to know the staff who are taking care of the person. All right, well, let's take a look at the staff who have taken care of me. Let's take a look at Polly Olson. Where's she at right now? Well, yeah, she stole a bunch of money from the citizens of Dole County again. How about Michelle DeCini? She was a guard at the prison I was sent to for trying to turn in Scott DaCosta. These things right here that it tells you to do. Did you bother to find out that Michelle DeCini is in prison now? She was charged with sexual assault, as well as sneaking things in. There's also the assistant warden. This is the lady who I had to turn people I had to try to turn them into a lady named Miranda Nuzzi. But I had to try to go through Sarah Nelson, through the, what did they call it? Basically, it's a counseling service. And the guys who are a part of it are, most of them are lifers. They're in there for life, for murder. There's one guy in there, he shot a basketball player, a female basketball player in Lincoln, and he's one of the counselor guys there. And the lady who ran that program, was Assistant Warden Sarah Nelson. Well, Assistant Warden Sarah Nelson was having intimate relations. She was charged with sexual assault as well. When I was physically and sexually assaulted within the prison, the guards were horrible. They'd come to my cell and laugh at me about it. Or they'd come antagonize me. Or they'd say, all right, well, I'm calling this refusal. This is one of the things they do to retaliate against you for speaking up when you're abused in prison. You speak out about your abusers. There's no audio recording in the place. None. They're supposed to have somebody show up and audio recording when there's a situation of hands-on. This is when they're going to come videotape them abusing you after refusing to give you your rights. Those situations where they do finally get a camera and come in with the camera. That's after the guards have bullied, threatened, and harassed you repeatedly. And it's not recorded. And then their retaliation is to come in and pretend like you're the bad guy. You're being uncontrollable. No, you are denying me my rights as a human being, you SOB. You are helping people who are committing felonies in that facility to get away with it. You are refusing to take a report from any one of us. You're telling us we cannot make a report about the other people in there. No, that is a safety issue for all of us. My paperwork needs to be seen. But all of these places are going to decline if I have to go in alone because I have no friends or family member. Even if I pay for everything that they need. You need insurance or you can't help me and I pay your insurance. You need a computer or you can't help me so I buy you a computer. You say I can't do this because I can't pay my phone bill. But if you pay my phone bill, I can help. Well, here's the money for your phone bill. Meanwhile, I don't have the money to take care of myself. What are you thinking? Everyone wants the homeless to just march off into the sea. The civil and human rights violations by law enforcement, judges, public pretenders, it is nationwide. At the end of the day, they all have to see each other again. Your public pretender isn't going to do the right thing because they don't want to piss off the judge. And if they piss off the judge, it could lead to innocent people, more innocent people, getting railroaded by that judge. All internal politics, got nothing to do with you. There are only consequences for our predators if we commit suicide. And we can't say anything. We can't say anything because you will dismiss us. You'll tell us to ignore it. Just ignore it. Just ignore it. And it's hard to ignore people assaulting you in real fucking life. It's hard to ignore Farnsworth. Just like it was hard to ignore Daniel there in Hood River. These men draw a lot of attention. A lot of people are dead. Dead. Because my so-called friends and family couldn't do these simple things. Express any concerns you may have right away. Keep notes of the conversations. I recorded the actual conversations. The actual conversations themselves, not cliff notes that are grossly reinterpreted. This is why we need actual evidence in the courtroom. When Scott Costa is allowed to so blatantly do these things and no one cares. Even with the recordings, you do nothing. Your excuse to do nothing is that nobody's going to do anything. Which is why you deserve everything that you have to deal with. Knowing that I exposed that. Knowing that I showed that I did go to you for help and you did nothing but make excuses and now people are dead. No wonder you ran for the hills. People are dead. Not because of what I did, but because of what you did. Take pictures if there are signs of abuse or poor health standards. Offer to accompany the person to medical appointments, financial institutions, and other important meetings. All of this should have been done by an advocate or a guardian. The reason for this is because if you've got one person who goes to one meeting and one person who goes to 2 meetings later on or just drops you off at the meetings, right? And then they leave. In their mind, they've helped you a great ton, but in reality, this all needs to go to the courts. Which means you need to come forward and be a friend or family like you claim that you were. But then again, who is going to accept a disabled homeless male? Especially if he's got Tourette's syndrome. I got to worry about getting shot because I have a twitch. And your cure for it is to give me medications that don't work and damage my liver and are likely to kill me. One thing I know is that if I commit suicide again, none of you are actually going to care unless, well, that's what it comes down to. That's literally what it's going to take to stop this. You know, I try to turn in people assaulting me and threatening to kill me in real life in Chapel, Nebraska, and I get told by Scott DaCosta, who I am only going to because the Nebraska State Patrol won't do their jobs and wanted to repeatedly lie to me. Tell me it's not their jobs. Tell me I have to go to Scott DaCosta. I go to Scott DaCosta. These guys tell me they can't investigate themselves. I already knew that. That's why I'm going to the Nebraska State Patrol, but they're lying to me and telling me it's not their job. Or they're sending me to every single jurisdiction for the Nebraska State Patrol, each one of them telling me that Chapel is not their jurisdiction. Every single one of them, it's somebody's jurisdiction. Finally, it comes down to it's supposed to be Gina Jones, or Sergeant Jones, of Nebraska State Patrol Troop E. Now, of course, there were people that were paid to help. Like Stephanie Mejia, Brandon Ratner. Brandon Ratner was there for several situations that he was paid for. He was monetarily compensated. But the thing is, one person at the very beginning to help me with this. It wouldn't have been 6 years of abuse to turn in. At the very beginning, it was just a couple of assaults and a couple of threats against my life over some rumors. Then it got extremely out of hand. And my friends and family helped a bunch of child molesters and rapists and murderers to get away. Congratulations. When it's just you, you have to be afraid of professional help. Without someone there with you who actually cares, it doesn't matter. You might as well be putting your own head in the friggin' gallows. Nobody's going to help you. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. For a lot of these people, I let them know it was time for them to leave a long time ago. And then I reached out to them, hey, if you're not going to be a friend, you need to leave. I don't have time for you. I can't keep wasting my resources hoping that maybe someday you will actually care, because you don't. I gotta go out into the rain, and I gotta try to panhandle up some money so I can go into the Starbucks and hopefully warm up without wasting a bunch of gas. And that way I can plug in my computer, and I'll be soaked by then, but whatever. Last night was pretty bad too. Oh, if I take this and I wrap it around my waist. It'll help to keep my legs warm. It's a lot easier than putting on a pair of pants, especially when you got really screwed up back. Crap, it's soaked already. All right. Y'all don't want to take responsibility for your actions. You want to blame us for your actions. There's a couple of girls, 12 and 14, who were charged with felony murder for bullying a girl to death. Now, you guys want to pretend it's just bullying in real life and only where I'm speaking out. No. I'm speaking out for a reason. I'm still taking the abuse. It's because of this slander, and it is that slander I am trying to get you to look at and speak up about. The parts that you were there for, admit that you were there for them. Don't make me record them and put them on YouTube. Don't be sexist about this and tell me I need to be a man. You don't want to be told that, do you? And what is it with so many of these women that I know wanting to pull the same crap? You say, oh, it's wrong. Oh, Sean, you're allowed to have emotions. You're allowed to have feelings. You're allowed to have opinions. Oh, Sean, you should just shut up and go to the back of the bus. It's horrible. It's the not having friends or family. It's people arguing instead of trying what it says to do. Trying what the lawyers told me to do. You are witnesses to the fact that I tried these things first. All of you. Well, the cops said I wasn't trying. My predators said I wasn't trying. Well, my diagnoses show clearly that I am not schizophrenic. This is something that my predators have been trying to play on this entire time. That's why they use the term mentally ill, to discredit their victim and nothing else. Thank you for telling me how you think it is. That's awful swell of you. It's also awful swell of you to tell me how I should think and feel about any of this when these are my loved ones who are dead. My loved ones who are dead, D-E-A-D, dead, because of your complacency. Oh, and you guys think it's a game, a dance, when somebody is abused to the point that they want their life to end. You think they're coming to you for coddling? No, you fucking pussies. You don't like that? You don't like that? That's how you treat us. And of course, in this right here, it says when we start acting like you guys, that's the sign of abuse. That's right, when we start acting like you guys. When we start cursing at you and yelling at you. But instead of running around town spreading slander about you, we tell the truth. Here it says, how do I know if someone is being abused or neglected? Having physical signs of abuse, such as injuries to the skin, such as burns, scars, bruises, sores, rashes, broken bones, weight loss, injury to the genitals, or difficulty walking. Does not have necessary medical and personal items, such as medicines, hearing aids, or eyeglasses. Shows behavioral signs of abuse or neglect. The older person may, it says, move away from, and that's the thing, is they should have given me, this is negligence. This is just pathetic. But okay, we'll go with this, right? But it says that they may move away from or seem afraid of a caregiver. Who am I afraid of and why? It said they may withdraw socially. I've got every reason to be afraid and to withdraw socially. I don't want to go hang out with a bunch of alcoholics and fucking druggies. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? It says become violent or agitated. Yeah. When people are getting physically violent with us, how are we supposed to be responding to this? It says, seem depressed. Who wouldn't be? You're not heard. You're not a human being to anyone. You're somebody who needs to shut up, go sit in the corner. You better not cry. I better not hear you crying. You know how it is. It says, have nightmares or difficulty sleeping. Oh, yeah, that's... Welcome to my life. I have nightmares about the places I've been and the ways that I've been treated. It says, lives in an unhealthy or unsafe environment. Shows signs of not being cared for, such as poor hygiene or dirty clothes. Lives in an unhealthy or unsafe environment. Well, I'm in Tillamook. This is KKK territory. I look like a Jew. It's not exactly healthy. The police and the things that they have done here, well, they have done it pretty much everywhere else, too. The police protocol when you go alone is to break the law. Plain and simple. A disabled homeless male has zero chance of being heard by the police alone. You got my friends killed. You, by looking away. A victim of bullying has two options for stopping this. One of them requires your help. The other requires them actually committing suicide to stop it. You want to tell them to move. What happens when they can't move? What happens when they're too broke to move? What happens if there's a bunch of web sleuth sites all over the world where they're telling false narratives? False narratives that get innocent people killed. What do you do when that's your friend or supposed friend that that's happening to? And you want to tell them just to move? Where? This paperwork talks about the importance of having a safety network and a support network. I haven't had that. That's the thing. The abuse by Natalie Bollinger and her friends prevented me from having that. Brenda Dickinson meant well, but she was taking some pretty messed up medications because she has a lot of pain from rheumatoid arthritis. She was less than helpful. Now, that's not to say she never did anything, because she did. There's a lot of things she did for all of us. But when it came to the most important thing, doing your job as a mandated reporter, every one of these people fell short. Every one of them. By forcing me to go in alone and make these calls alone, they forced situations where I had to do desperate things to stop abuse. By not coming forward about the evidence that they knew about, that they were aware of, that they were there for, they allowed this false narrative to continue. And that resulted in a lot of dead people. I understand wholeheartedly why you're trying to hide it. I also understand that it wasn't your fault. But now you committed felonies by trying to hide what happened. Just like the analogy that I give you, where if a person steps out in front of your vehicle, you're going the speed limit. This person just steps out of the bushes in front of your vehicle at the last second and you run them over. You shouldn't be charged with any crimes for it. And you probably won't. But the moment you start trying to hide the body, you've committed a felony, and nobody's going to care if you did it on purpose or not. I didn't try hiding what I did. The Bollingers tried, I still exposed it. The cops tried, I still exposed it. Leslie Snell tried, I still exposed it. Rather than kill myself, I try to get help. But my friends and family are hell-bent on wanting me to kill myself. They're hell-bent on doing literally everything except what it says on here. Yes, Lanny Engeline can be charged with sexual abuse. Grabbing my hand and sticking it on her breast was inappropriate, uncalled for, and not a reasonable conclusion to the situation. Reasonably, when somebody is telling you about what is going on, that's probably not sex time. Now you also get to hear the abuse that I go through. Physical abuse. This includes rough handling, threats with a weapon, throwing objects, pushing, hitting, hair pulling, force feeding, and improper use of restraints or medicines. You don't care how much of that I have to go through. You only care if I have to do it back. You will talk over me while I try to tell you what's going on with this abuse. You will talk over me. Lovely. Because your problems are more important than everyone else's. I get it. You expect me to drop everything when you need help. But then you don't help me in 6 years, and you want to say, you just expect me to drop everything for you. When's the last time you did something that a friend would actually do? When? Oh, well, I type pretty words at you. Thank you. Thank you for proving my point. It says sexual abuse. This involves unwanted sexual contact that is forced or tricked. in the prison in Lincoln, or those two guards, one of them being the assistant warden. These are people I have to go to about being sexually assaulted, and they're both charged with sexual assault. But you can't do none of this family stuff, can you? You can't do none of this friend stuff, can you? You can't do that. You can't do what the lawyers say to do. You can't do what the paperwork says to do. I can't take care of myself. All of these mandated reporters are preying on that. Every one of them. They know I can't take care of myself, and they know I went in alone. Nobody cares. The situations where they realized that that was actually wrong, it's because people didn't care until after Natalie was dead. It wasn't until Natalie Bollinger got her brains blown out that anybody actually made any attempt to go to any of these things with me, to actually possibly help. But did they actually go? The cops said they didn't. They were able to manipulate a judge by saying that nobody. Well, what if I say it? Oh, everybody want to speak up then. Sean, I did this and I did that. Really, did you? Because that's not what the cops said, and they were able to railroad me in court and deny me all of my rights by pretending I'm a schizophrenic liar. Where were you? How long did it take you? I mean, the paperwork here, the paperwork doesn't suggest you wait 6 years. The paperwork definitely suggests that I should not go in by myself. But yeah, you tell them they just need to love themselves. Or you post up a general meme about mental illness and say, see, I'm trying to help. That's the opposite of help. The term mentally ill, that's horrible. You know what that is? It's an excuse. It's an excuse that our predators use after they have harmed us. When we try to turn them in, they want to discredit us. The problem with trying to turn in law enforcement that does that is that all they got to do is charge you with a crime. And then they go, oh, he's just trying to turn us in because he doesn't want to get in trouble. No, you charged me with criminal acts that were not committed because you didn't want to go to prison, dummy. Natalie Bollinger's suicide was entirely preventable. Even my own friends and family try to push me to commit suicide. So they're not friends and they're not family and they can leave.